to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Joviana Palacio, but you can call me JoJo. If you're not new, welcome back. Today on my channel, we're doing this look right here. I feel like it is the perfect combination of like sultry, smoky, taking it back old school kind of for me personally. It's definitely old school for me. Like I remember, or do you remember when the looks were like 3 colors and you did a crease shade and then a lid shade and then you did an outer V shade? Well, it's something similar to that, but I still went in and used a few other shades because, you know, we've grown from that moment. We're blending now, we're using different brushes. So I used this guy again. I played with the Makeup Revolution palette again. I really love this palette. I need you guys to go look at it and check it out because it is phenomenal. That's pretty much all I have for this tutorial intro. Super awkward, I don't know why. I should probably be getting better at this, but I'm not. So, before we go into it though, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to look me up on Instagram. Hit the notification button when you subscribe because I upload every Wednesday and every Saturday. It's a very educational channel. It is about all things beauty, not just makeup. We talk about lashes and skincare. We talk about different formulas for foundation and why they're good for your skin type. And I feel like very beneficial to you because I'm gonna break it down for you. We are going to learn one way or another. We're gonna get this. Just keep on trying. So I'm gonna stop talking and mumbling and let's get into this tutorial. All right, everyone, so let's get started. We're gonna start off by priming our eyelids. I'm using the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. And I'm just gonna take that right onto my lids. And I like to blend it out using a Real Techniques crease brush, the Luxe crease brush. Just kind of buff that in place and blend that out. All right, so after we blended it out, we're gonna go right into the eyeshadow look. We're using this guy again. So this is the Makeup Revolution Reloaded Velvet Rose palette. And I'm gonna take this color right here in the corner. And we're just gonna apply that all over our lid. If you don't have a color similar to that, you can definitely use something like a face powder, something that is like a bone beige, almost even white color. I used to use white a lot when I was first doing my makeup because I didn't have the colors, and I feel like white worked well. I feel like if you have it, the bone is a little better just because it's a little more natural, skin-like. So moving right into this palette, we're actually gonna play with some of the cooler plummy tones. So I'm gonna go into this guy right here in the palette. I'm gonna take it using a nice fluffy brush. My favorite for this is the JH30. So I'm gonna pack the color on the brush, and what you wanna do is take nice big circular motions. Circular motions are just gonna help create a more blended look. Using a fluffy brush versus a flat brush really does help you spread the product out evenly, get it applied a lot easier without leaving harsher lines. I personally love Morphy brushes. I own a ton of Morphy brushes, BH Cosmetic brushes, and then I also have a few Crown brushes. They have lasted me such a long time. They are so inexpensive. The quality is so good. You guys need to check them out. I'll try to leave the link below to the Morphy and the Luxie just so you guys know, and I'll list the brushes down on this video. I know that I haven't done that in a while, but they are such good quality brushes. It is insane. I'm going on maybe, since the collection with Morphy and Jaclyn Hill launched, so what, like 2 years maybe? Other brushes I've owned for longer than that. And if you take care of your brushes, guys, they will last a really long time. And then what I also ended up doing is going in with a JH33 brush and picking up that same color. And we're just gonna build it, defining this crease area right here with this brush. It really does help to really carve out the shape that we want. Although we are gonna use a little bit of primer to help us carve out kind of like a half cut crease situation, you still want the shade because it really does help create that depth and the dimension that's going on the other side. So I'm gonna move on to the next color that we're using. That's gonna be this guy right here. So this is like a brown, type like a chocolate brown type of color. It's really pretty and it really doesn't come off as light, like it looks pretty dark in the actual crease. So we're gonna apply that to the crease a little lower than the first shade, blending that back and forth, really focusing it in that crease area. And then taking it in the outer corner and building up that outer corner. And I always suggest to kind of tilt your head back to build up that crease if you're not familiar with where the crease should be. Tilting your head back really does reveal that natural hollow. All right, so once you've built that up quite a bit, we're actually gonna go back into our primer. And like we've done a few times now, I've just started to take whatever is on the actual applicator onto my brush. We're using a thin brush, a flat, thin brush, and we're just gonna start to apply the product specifically in this lid area. And we're gonna take it pretty far into the lid, but it's not gonna be anything fancy, honestly. It's gonna just trace out our natural lid, but I've just kind of learned that less is more when it comes to carving out your crease, at least in my opinion. I have more control, it dries faster, it doesn't transfer onto the crease area. It's just easier for me personally. So I'm just gonna take that, and I'm working with a little bit at a time so it doesn't dry out and get complicated. But even as it does start to dry out, sometimes it's a little easier to like maneuver. So I'm just gonna take it about 3/4 of the way onto the lid so that you've got plenty of space to play with. And we're gonna leave it there. That way it just honestly stays where you leave it. You don't have to worry about it transferring onto the top part. So just like that, we're gonna move on to the lid color. And I'm gonna take this color that's right here, this one. It is number 8. Realized that they had numbers in the back. Sorry. So we're gonna take the number 8. I'm gonna take that on a JH41 brush. This is still a flat packing brush, but it's a little fluffier. And I'm just gonna dampen it with a little bit of a spray. And we are going to just apply that to the lid space we just got finished carving out with primer. I like to use swiping packing motions for this part. I just feel like it is the best way to apply. There is no extraness needed. You're just gonna pack that onto the lid by pressing and swiping. Okay, so we're gonna create a little bit more of dimension and depth in that outer corner, and I'm gonna take my Luxie 231 brush and the 13, which is right here. And that's like a deeper brown tone. We're just gonna deepen up the outer corner, give it a little more drama. So what I'm gonna do is just start by pressing most of the color and packing it into this lower V, and then wiggling it up as we go. But I like to just stamp the color where I want the most dimension. The way these shadows blend is so nice. I've used this palette once before and there is a little bit of fallout in the pan. However, with the colors that I played with today, there isn't much fallout on my under eye area. So it's nice to know that even though there's fallout in the pan, it's not gonna make it to your face. If you're someone who likes to do their eyeshadow last, I've just always gotten into the habit of doing my eyeshadow first, and I prefer it that way. What do you like? Are you an eyeshadow first or an eyeshadow last type of person? Okay, so once you've applied that there, we're gonna move right along. We're gonna take my Urban Decay Glide On pencil in Demolition. This is like a dark brown color, and I'm gonna apply that to my lash line. No fancy type of wing. I just like to get a nice thick band, like lash line, for when I'm using my eyelashes every once in a while, especially if the band is a little thicker, which most of my lashes are thicker bands. We talked about this in my how to apply lashes video. I just prefer them that way, but every once in a while I just like to throw on a little bit of liner in the actual lash line to help thicken it up a little bit. It's a mood that I'm in. So after I've done that, I'm just gonna apply some mascara, give them a little bit of support. I'm using the Benefit Roller Lash Mascara. I like the way that it just curls my lashes. The shape of the brush is just so convenient because it literally just wraps around your eyelid. If you tried this glue yet, it is phenomenal. Glue is amazing. It dries so quickly. It saves you so much time when you're applying lashes. It's amazing. Drop it in the center and then adjust the outer lash band and then the inner lash band. I feel like the inner lash band is what plays me the most. Okay, so for complexion today, we are going to use this guy right here, the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin. I've actually been reintroduced to it because of Influencer. If you guys didn't watch that video on my Instagram, you have to go check it out. So Influencer is a platform for us reviewers, social media type of influencers who don't necessarily have the following base to get sent PR, but we do get sent things through Influencer to kind of review and give, and so that you guys know what we would rate it and our feedback is. So got sent this guy, although I've tried it at Sephora before. I was reintroduced to it. We have just so many different things that we can try at Sephora that I just feel like every once in a while you need to be reminded. And I was. So I'm gonna use this guy in combination with a few things. I'm gonna take my Makeup Forever Mattifying Primer. I'm gonna put that in my midsection. This is probably one of my go-to primers for oily skin, especially if the client like straight up is like joking. No, I am like oily. I love this in the center of the face. It really, you can instantly almost feel it mattifying and just literally absorbing up oil. It's phenomenal. So I'm gonna take that, I would say maybe like a dime size amount, and apply it in the center of my face. If you're oily, you're good, just stop right there, don't do this. I am combination skin, so I'm gonna take my Urban Decay All-Nighter Primer, and I'm gonna apply that to my outer perimeter of the face, but I'm also gonna take a little bit of the Sephora Collection Radiant Luminizing Drops. I know I'm using a mattifying primer in the center and something hydrating and radiant on the outside. That is just me. And I'm using that with a matte foundation, but one, let me just say I'm a girl. We want best of both worlds. Two, I love the fact that it is a velvety matte finish. However, I don't like to look full on matte. For me personally, you guys know that I'm more of like that J-Lo glow type of girl. So I love the coverage. I love the finish of this foundation. If there was one thing that I could change, would be that I don't want it to be super matte. So this is my way of changing that, is by adding the radiance drops to my actual primer. I love that primer though. If you guys haven't tried the Urban Decay primer yet, I need you to go and check it out. It is so good. Okay, so moving right along, we're gonna go into the foundation application, and I'm gonna use a brush first, and then I'm gonna blend it in with a sponge. So I am Y375 in this matte velvet foundation, and I like to take about that much on the back of my hand. I've always just worked off of the back of my hand. I don't ever like to apply the foundation directly. I just feel like I can control how much goes on my face, and if I need to add it, I can add more. But once it's on your face, it's on your face, and you're gonna have to figure out a way to kind of like blend it in if you've overdone it. I love that I did that. Like I like the foundation before I use the luminizing drops, but the radiance drops truly like gave me what I wanted. So what I'm gonna do is take my beauty sponge, and I'm just gonna pick up a little more and build my coverage where I like to build my coverage, which is usually around my mouth and my chin area. But I'm also gonna work the foundation into the skin a little more. I just like to push it into the skin. It helps make it look a little more skin-like to me personally. It's not just sitting on my face. Although the buffing brush really does help, the kabuki brush really does help to like push it into the skin. I just prefer the way that it looks once I've already ran the sponge through it. I don't know if it's the moisture the sponge offers or what, but I just love doing it with a brush and then a sponge. How do you guys apply foundation? Do you have a preference? All right, so once I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to our contour. For contour, I'm gonna take 2 things. So first we're gonna bronze. Bronzing, we're gonna use my Milk Flex foundation stick in medium tan. I love this as a bronzing shade. It is so pretty. The way that it blends out, I haven't come across a foundation it doesn't work with. And you guys can tell that it's not even that dark. It's maybe like 2-3 shades darker than what my foundation is, but I just love the way that it looks in pictures and underneath powders. So I'm gonna use my BH Cosmetics brush to just kind of work that into the skin. It melts in so perfectly. It is so good. And let me tell you that as a foundation, that is a phenomenal foundation. I love that foundation for older skin. I like it for drier skin. It's perfect for sensitive skin as well because Milk is a vegan, clean brand. Their ingredients are super good. Their ingredient list is super short too, so you can always look at the back of the box and figure out if those ingredients work for you, but I can guarantee you it is such a good brand to get into. Perfect. And so what I want to do is kind of deepen that up a little more. And to do that, I'm going to use my LA Girl Pro Concealer in Beautiful Bronze. I love this guy to help contour. This shade is that like deeper gray undertone, and it is so good for that. Like you can see how much darker that is than the actual Milk, which is why I use it for this. That might be too much. And I'm just gonna do right over the temples just a little bit because this is very pigmented. Very pigmented. And so I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna blend that out here first. See how much more defined that is? And I like having the Milk underneath it just to kind of help blend it out and keep it. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do is take my sponge and I'm gonna run through everything one more time. The sponge should have some of that leftover foundation from when we were applying and pushing it into the skin. So what this does is it really helps to just kind of blend everything together and even lighten up the contour a little bit because the foundation is still on the sponge. For concealer today, we are going to use one of my favorite combos, which is my Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Sculpt Concealer in Nude to conceal. And then to highlight, we're gonna go into my Benefit Boing Cakeless Concealer in number 2. So let's start with this guy. I use Nude as my concealing shade just because it is maybe 1 shade lighter than what my actual foundation shade is versus the Boing number 2 is like 3 to 4 shades lighter. It is definitely a highlighting shade. If you wanted to just use a concealing and a highlighting shade in one, then maybe just a nude would be okay for you. I just like to have that like really glowy, bright under eye area. So what I recommend you do is just kind of use whatever is on your applicator from that first swoop and not go into it too much just because you are using 2 concealers, 1. And 2, you don't ever want to cake the concealer on because that's going to make it crease even if it is a creaseless formula. So I'm going to let that kind of sit there for a second and I'm actually going to go, hold on, you know what, I'm going to try layering. Should I? Nah. So I'm going to take my Cakeless, my Benefit Concealer, and I'm going to put that around the Too Faced and actually like in the center here, just to kind of mix them up a little bit. I like for this area to be very bright and also the very inner corners. And to even things up, I'm gonna put it right in the center of my forehead. I'm gonna bring it down the center of my nose. Once you've let that sit for a little bit, we're gonna take our sponge and we're gonna start with the chin and the forehead. The reason you wanna blend it out in the chin, around the mouth and the forehead is because you want everything to look uniform. You don't want to look like just your under eyes are bright and then the rest of your face is like plain. You want to make sure that everything looks like if a light bulb or a flash were to hit your face, it's going to hit the forehead, it's going to hit the cheeks, under the eyes, your nose, and your chin, because those are areas that kind of stand out most when you're looking at your face from the side. Using whatever is left over from the concealer on the chin, you want to make sure that you clean up around the cheek area, and you can do that as you are blending everything out. Just kind of go back every once in a while and show it some love. Don't add any additional product because it's really not necessary. And then I like to save the under eye area for last, especially when we're doing this drying technique. And not only just for the technique, it's because honestly, you want to wait until right before you put powder over it to actually blend that out. And then like I said before, just take whatever is left over on the sponge and kind of clean up your contour a little bit. When you get to that very inner corner, I always have a brush on deck. This guy here is the Morphy and Jaclyn Hill part of the eye collection, and I just take this brush and I run it in between the brows, above the brows, in this very inner corner here, and I really like to just blend that out. Look at what a nice under eye area does for a look. Now that that is blended, we're gonna go ahead and go into this guy right here. This is the MAC C2 powder, the Studio Fix, yeah. And I'm gonna take it on one of my tapered brushes and we're gonna set the under eye area. I'm gonna take that powder and set. So this powder not only helps to set the actual concealer, but it also helps to brighten and keep a little bit of that coverage in there. And I love this powder. It absorbs really, really well. It wears really well too. So we are gonna set the actual under eye area, like bake it a little, and we're gonna use my Maybelline Fit Me powder. I like to set that with the sponge, so I'll grab it onto the sponge. From the sponge, I'm gonna press it onto the lid just to kind of break it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna apply it right onto my under eye area and anywhere that we just got done putting concealer. If you have dry skin, don't feel like you have to do this. This is not necessary for dry skin. This is oily skin, pores, combination skin like myself. But if you're someone who has dry skin and you set with a compact, like a foundation, pressed powder foundation, you're okay to just move on and only set your under eye, nose, chin area that tends to get greasy. Don't go crazy with this. You don't need it if you've got dry skin. Okay, and you might want to use something a little lighter than this guy to set. If you're using this just to set under your eyes, don't pack it on with a sponge. Use a nice tapering brush if you are dry. If you are oily, however, or combination skin, follow this. So now that that is on there, what I'm gonna do is go back into my eyeshadow palette and we're gonna finish up the under eye area. I'm gonna actually take that Luxie brush that I was using and I'm gonna just pick up both of those, actually all three of those colors, and just blend that out into my under eye area. And I'm gonna connect it to the outer corner so that it's just one whole thing versus it looking all disconnected. Perfect. And then I'm gonna take a nice stiff brush. This is the JH43 and a little bit of that brown color. And we're gonna just wiggle that right onto the lower lash line, and it's gonna help kind of create the illusion of a liner, but we don't really wear dark liner down there, right? So we're gonna just do that on the outer part, and then we're going to do our waterline with a nice beige color. Okay, so now that that is done, we are gonna actually set the rest of our face, and we're gonna go into my MAC Studio Fix in C5.5, which this would be like my foundation shade. And I'm gonna take my BH Cosmetics B11 brush, and we're just gonna, number one, set the foundation, but also dust off any excess powder. So once that is done, we're gonna go into this guy, NYX, NYX Highlight and Contour Pro palette. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take these two shades right here, and I'm going to contour my face with them. So I'm gonna tap into it with my Real Techniques contouring brush. Real Techniques is another brush brand that I love. This brush, I've had this brush for like 6 or 7 years and it is phenomenal. So I'm gonna just take that right where we put the milk and the LA Girl Beautiful Bronze, right over that, and just kind of work it into the hairline. You are honestly at this point just setting the cream contour and the cream bronze. You're not trying to contour it up. I mean, if you didn't do the cream part of it, you can definitely go in a little heavier, but me personally, I'm just gonna reinforce and set. So once you've done that, it is time to bronze up. And I'm actually gonna take this first shade that's here to bronze up. Ooh, these has numbers too, but these numbers are low. HCPS08. Highlight contour palette, I guess. I'm not type that. This is one of my favorite drugstore highlight and contour palettes. It is phenomenal. It is so good. Like, instead of using the MAC foundation powder that I use, you could literally use one or all three of these shades to do that brightening setting type of situation under the eyes. It's got a highlighter in it. It is so good. For yourself, or if you're someone who does makeup on clients, it is so good to have in your kit. I love it. Like, for highlight today, we're gonna use this guy here. I use it nonstop for a while, stopped using it, use it once, and now she's back. So we're gonna take this guy, and I'm actually gonna wiggle into quite a few of these. And place it in the shape of a C on my face. So it is the cheekbone and then above the brow bone. And so for blush, I'm actually going into this guy. It's a little bold. I'm a little scared to see how strong it's gonna come out. This is the Makeup Forever blush. I hate that there's no, it's like in there. I have to get it out. I hate getting that, pulling it out of this little thing. But I'm gonna just take that on a Luxie blush brush, and I'm gonna just literally pat onto it. These are very pigmented, and I'm not trying to look like Betty Boop out here. So I'm just gonna just put that right up here and kind of work it into below my actual, like the, what is that called? Apples? Apples of the cheek. And work it back, mostly focusing it up here, like doing a little 80s, 90s situation. I just prefer to have the blush out there instead of right under my cheeks and the apples of my cheeks, just because I feel like it makes my cheeks look bigger. We don't want that. Perfect. And I go a little heavy-handed. I know it doesn't look like it on camera, but this is a very intense blush. These lights aren't like doing it justice. Got quite a bit of blush on. But whatever reason, I just swallow it up throughout the day, like disappears on me. So unfortunate. So I'm gonna set that using my, what do I want? I'm gonna take my Morphy Continuous Setting Mist, just because the all-nighter, I feel like it's gonna be a little more matte, and I don't wanna add more matte to the situation. All right, so I am gonna get changed, put a lippy on, fix my hair, and I will be right back to see you guys. All right, guys, so this is the finished look right here. I love it. Like, I love the way that the eyes look. And honestly, I was thinking about it, I'm like, why does this look so familiar? It's pretty close to what I did for my own wedding. I didn't want to do brown, I didn't want to do black or gray. I wanted something a little more like, I don't know, just not any of those colors. And this is honestly super similar to what I came up with for that day. So I love that. For the lip combo, I kept it pretty, what do you call that when it's like the same? Similar? There's a different word I'm looking for, I just can't find it, but that's okay. And so what I did is I used the NYX lip pencil in Los Angeles. Look how much I like this pencil, it is like gone. And I also use a Bite Beauty Demi Gloss lipstick. This is the Amuse Bouche Liquefied Lip in Chutney. I don't think that they have these anymore. Maybe online. I know at Sephora, Bite Beauty is a like very natural type of brand. They were all lip for a moment, and then all of a sudden they went into like complexion and said no to lip. So this guy is actually a really pretty color for every day. It's like a little bit deeper. I don't know, every day for me. Maybe not for you guys, but I loved it. And then I wanted to do something a little more ombre, a little more glossy in the middle, and I used a Lancome lip lacquer over it. This is the shade 312. So this is my combo for lips today. I am a huge fan of lip liner. I don't know if you guys believe in lip liner or not, but even though I have very like pronounced form lips. I just love the detail that it gives the finish of the lip, but then it also helps your lipstick last. So keep that in mind when you're considering lip liners or not. This is the finished look. I'm quite happy with it. I feel like it is so pretty. The colors blended out so well. This eyeshadow palette, if you guys have not checked it out yet, I need you to go and check it out. They have so many pretty palettes, and I want to say like the scheme to it are similar to, like, I know I saw a few that look like the Huda Beauty palettes, but then I also saw some that were dupes for the Natasha Denona palette. So go check it out because the quality is really good. The blend is really good. It's just a lot of fallout in the pan itself, but again, I'm okay with that as long as it's not falling out on my face. So that being said, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post videos every Wednesday and every Saturday of the month. I also have an Instagram. You can find me under Jojo Palacio. And Instagram, it's a little more interactive and I get to kind of chat with you guys a little bit, but I also post IGTV videos that are a little more precise, a little less, they're a little more specific. So we'll talk about foundation, we'll talk about skincare. I won't go into a full tutorial, although sometimes I do, because this channel is about all things beauty and so is my Instagram. So I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.